We are the only talk radio show in the entire state of Texas and the first in the United States to talk about this. Star Wars, Star Trek, DC, Marvel, video gaming, Doctor Who, Battlestar, anything and everything that is geek, that's what we talk about on talk radio. So I thought it'd only be fair that we talk about how you could start your own show, because it's actually a lot easier than most people think, and it's a lot of fun. I'm not going to lie. Yes, a lot of work goes into it, but we have a lot of fun with it as well. And geek is, like we say on the show, geek is in right now. Geek is clearly the mainstream. If you just look around and you look at all these vendors, there's so much right now. I mean, there are geeky coasters and geeky belts and geeky ties and cufflinks. You know, it's no longer playing Dungeons and Dragons in your mom's basement. You know, it's not that anymore. Now there are, you can't walk around anywhere in San Antonio without seeing somebody wearing something geeky. This is the time, ever since 2008 when Iron Man came out and Marvel just exploded and started making billion-dollar movies, the media has really started to take off as well. So I thought we'd go ahead and we just talk about who we are, how we got here, how you can start your own show, what you need to take that show to the next level, and what you really need if you're going to survive, because it's a very busy industry. There are so many podcasts out there, so many YouTube channels out there, so many things that are already talking about this, so how do you stand out? We're going to talk about all that and more. Anybody of any age can do a geeky talk show. Really. Whether you're 6 years old or you're 46 years old or beyond, you can do it. It's really, it's an interesting time. And you can do it with almost no experience, really, as long as you just have a passion for it. That's all you really need. If you want to do a talk show for politics, well, you better have some type of a political background. If you want to do one for sports, you pretty much have to have played the game. You have to play football to talk about it if you want to be taken seriously, but that's not the way with geeks. Anybody can have their own show. So I am, as mentioned before, I'm Dave Vermillion. I am the host of Get Your Geek On, and I started off as a podcast. Get Your Geek On was done in my living room with a mic much like this, an aquarium off to my left, my beagle behind me, and my wife in another room because she wanted to, have a little time to herself and not listen to me prattle on about geek stuff forever. Not that I blame her. And doing the podcast was a lot of fun, but I wanted to elevate it and take it to the next level, so we ended up going on talk radio with 9:30 a.m. And nobody had done it before, which I found just amazing and stunning. I mean, this is a multi-billion-dollar industry. The best movies around are geeky movies, so how has this not been done for talk radio yet? So I'm gonna turn the mic over to each one of my cohorts here and talk about how they got started and what they're passionate about, why they're doing this, and why they're sitting here with me now.
Hi. Hello? Hi. Good. You can hear me. I got started. I actually was a guest on the show, and I run the Star Wars Society San Antonio. You can find us down at the end of the here with all the other fan clubs. And I was a guest on the show, but I also have a lot of connections with also a lot of the fan clubs and cosplayers who are here. So my job is to kind of help get them, find out what some of the things that they're doing, and I'm kind of almost like a man on the scene and try to get coverage about what they may be doing, whether it's a Doctor Who outing doing some of the movies, or one of the superhero clubs doing a fundraiser or hospital visit. That's when I try to find out what they're doing, and this way I get to go out and cover it. And I've been on the show almost a year now. August will make exactly 1 year, and I enjoy doing this. It's a lot of times it's the highlight of my week, and I'm grateful for doing this.
You gotta speak up a little bit.
All right, so I was actually a producer for Salem Media Group, which owns 9:30 a.m. The Answer, for about 4 years or so, 4 or 5 years before Dave came along. And it was funny because my general sales manager says, hey, by the way, we're talking to somebody about doing a geek type radio show. I was like, great, I'm producing it. No, I didn't ask, I just said it. That's what I'm doing. And then later on, the decisions got made further. Like, okay, well, what night are we talking about? It's like, well, Saturday nights at 11. I say, great, we're recording it on Thursdays. And lo and behold, there we are. One of the former hosts that I worked with before was an account executive over at the station. So when it came time, he called me in, introduced me as what he called me on his radio show, and that was Goose, and that nickname has stuck ever since. And to be quite honest with you, this is the highlight of my week. Love doing this stuff, love talking about it, have a passion for it. Have since I was a kid, first time I watched Super Friends. So back in the 80s. So yeah, this is great. And if you're not listening to this show, Saturday nights at 11 on 9:30 a.m. The Answer, why not? Just give it a listen. And I think you'll like what you hear. You can also go to 930amtheanswer.com, find our archived shows from the past. Also go to facebook.com/GYGO official and look at our Facebook Live videos that we produce each and every week.
All right, so I thought we'd start off by discussing how you can have your own show. And there are various ways in which you can do it. There's so many mediums out there for you to do your own show. Not necessarily on talk radio. Don't do talk radio. I don't want the competition. So just don't. Just stop. Don't. We're the only ones. I want to stay that way so we get the exclusiveness out of it.
Oh my goodness.
But there are various ways you can do it. There are so many platforms out there for starting your own show. There's one small one in particular. You may have heard of it. It's called YouTube. YouTube, I think, is what it was called. And all you have to do is just create an account, create a channel, have a webcam and a mic, and you're in, and you have a show. Just like that. It's really incredibly easy. If you want to go back, say about 20 or so years, let's go back just to 1997. Let's go back 20 years. First of all, Geek was not as big as it is now, but that's okay. If you wanted to start a talk show, radio was pretty much your only option. You could do public access television, you could do network television, but let's be honest, that's not going to happen for people like us. It's not going to happen. I mean, you have to know somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody if you wanted to get a show. But if you fast forward to today, it's so easy. Just go to youtube.com, create a channel, you're there. You have a show. There's also Twitch. Twitch is mostly used, honestly, it's mostly used for streaming video games. You can go to Twitch right now and you will see channels with hundreds of thousands of people watching other people play video games. But talk shows are now starting to get into that also. My sister-in-law actually runs a cooking show on Twitch. And all you need, again, is a webcam, a microphone, and you're good. And you have your own show. Facebook Live. That's our bread and butter right there. As much fun as we have on talk radio, we do also record our shows on Facebook Live. And because Facebook is kind of a thing now. So all you need, again, is a webcam, a mic, and you have your own talk show. There are no limits to Facebook Live anymore. All you have to do is just turn it on and start yapping about whatever it is you want to talk about. It's your show. And all of a sudden you're going to get people watching. And since most of us are already on Facebook, and most of us already have at least 100 or so friends on Facebook, you can have your own show on Facebook. That guy right there, you can have your own show on Facebook. It's okay. Talk about whatever it is you want to talk about. And then there are podcasts. Now, everything that we talked about so far, YouTube, Twitch, and Facebook Live, those are visual. You have a camera, you have a mic, and you are seen. But if you do a podcast, those are audio only. Like our archive, it's audio only. So you can have your own podcast just without the visuals. And there are so many podcasts. Oh my God. I ran across a podcast for Firefly. And it's been around for 4 years. And I'm like, what? How do you keep a podcast about a show that only had one season on it going for 4 years? Don't you run out of stuff to talk about?
It had a movie too.
Well, yeah, I know that. But I mean, after 4 years, you kind of run out of stuff to talk about. But they keep on going because it's what they love to do.
Now, by the way, the San Antonio Browncoats are just down up over there next to us. If you want to go know anything about Firefly, they're right down there.
Yeah, let me interject real quick in that almost half the reason I started this talk show is because people like the Star Wars Society of San Antonio, the Alamo City Browncoats, Havoc, Heroes with a Heart, Champions of San Antonio, and so on, and I could just go on and on. Those groups don't get media coverage at all, ever. The press does not talk to them. And I didn't think that was right because these people put a lot of their time and a lot of their money into what they're doing. And what they're doing is they are raising money for the food bank. They're visiting kids in hospitals. They're helping to gather school supply runs, and they're doing a lot of good, a lot of 501c3 nonprofits, and they're getting zero coverage in the media for what they're doing. And I didn't think that was right. So that's almost half the reasons I started the talk show. Fan groups are down at that end of the mall. You'll see them down that way, and I highly recommend you talk to these people because I know a lot of people think that they're, oh my God, you got to have high standards in order to join. This guy runs the Star Wars Society of San Antonio, in case you're wondering about high standards. They don't exist.
Not really, considering I don't have many standards to begin with.
All right, so getting back to it. So we have YouTube, which is so easy to set up. Twitch, which is so easy to set up. Facebook Live, which is incredibly easy to set up. And then you have podcasts. Okay. There are benefits and there are drawbacks to each one of these. One of them is, first of all, you're on a camera. So if you're camera shy, you do kind of need to get over that in a hurry. And the best way to get over that is just not picture the camera at all. So I don't even pretend there is a camera. I'm just sitting here and I'm just having a good time on a Sunday afternoon talking about what I love to talk about with people that I love to talk about it with.
And me.
I wasn't going to mention you, but that's okay. But the benefits are huge. The number one way to get a lot of people to watch you and listen to you instantly is Facebook Live, because so many of us are already on Facebook. Odds are if you're on Facebook, you have at least 100 friends. Once you go live, they all get a little notification, a ping, that says, hey, this guy or this girl just went live. Come take a look at what they're talking about. And all you have to do is just talk. It's about what you're passionate about, so more than likely you're going to be able to talk about it for quite a while. But I think one of the biggest things that stops people from doing a show is the equipment. Because everybody thinks that, oh my God, you have to spend $6,000, and you got to have this great camera, you got to have this kick-ass microphone, you got to be able to, it's got to look professional, I got to have a backdrop and all that. And I'm here to dispel those myths. You don't. You really don't. In fact, I would wager that just about everybody within the sound of this voice has the necessary equipment already to start their own show. You could do it today. You could do it now if you want. You could start a show right now of us doing this panel. And you could do it right now. Goose, he's our producer. Goose is I call him our sound prognosticator, and just kind of talk a little bit about how easy it is, what kind of basic equipment you need to get a show going.
So it depends, of course, what type of show you're looking to do. If you're looking to just do a podcast, to be quite honest with you, you can use some of the recording equipment that's included in most PCs and a headset with a mic on it, like you would use for gaming. If you game with friends online, you already have that in most cases, so you can put it to use there. A really dinky webcam will work to get you started. So you don't need to spend like $500 or $300. You can do it with like a $50 webcam if you wanted to. $20 webcam if you wanted to. I've seen YouTube videos that are in their bedrooms where you can see the mess, you can see the dirty laundry on the bed, you can see the posters on the walls. Because to be quite honest with you, if people are looking at the background, that means they're not looking at you, which means the problem is more you than anything else. As long as you are passionate and as long as you can get your message across in a semi-intelligent manner, they're not going to worry about the background. They're not going to necessarily worry about the professionalism of the look if you're interesting to listen to and you keep them coming back. Sometimes changing having the dirty laundry there one week and not the next provides its own little fun story for the viewer. Depending on what you want to do with that. Changing the posters provides some, and also lets them get to know who you are. The thing that we do it at the radio station, so there's kind of this antiseptic feel to it when we do the Facebook Lives, but if we were doing it at a home studio, if we were doing it somewhere else, then those things would be there to let you know more about what we do and what we are. But at the radio station, of course, we have many different shows that do many different things, so we kind of have to make sure that appeals to everybody. But you don't need to do all that. You don't need to have this 15-channel soundboard that we use. You don't need to have a separate recording computer. You can use a smartphone for Facebook with the ambient mic on your phone and go to town. Quite honestly, you can. Wi-Fi is always preferred when you do any type of video streaming, because otherwise your data plan will get eaten up.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my goodness, it'll get eaten up. So really the only limit is you and what you want to do and how you want to come across. If you're okay with just starting a show and talking about Sci Fest, you can do that right now. Right now. Just label, hashtag, share, and you are in business, as they said.
One of the shows that I kind of follow, he doesn't make as many videos, is kind of influenced how I do my thing with action figure theater. There was a guy who would get his little figures, probably even a small little camera phone, and considering how technology's gone with camera phones lately, I'm pretty sure things have progressed from the time he used to do some stuff. He would use simple effects, cheap little backgrounds, and do little stories, not even using real stop motion animation. This was a guy that I used to follow called It's Some Random Guy. You can find his stuff on YouTube. He had, I don't know how many followers, but he hasn't done anything in a while. But his stuff was very, very basic, and using even just simple, very simple little special effects, and he had hundreds of followers with his thing. So, like I always tell people who won't even try to do anything with cosplay, anything can be done. Anything, if you the only limits are your own imagination.
Now, I will say this: it is incredibly easy to start your own show. I think we've demonstrated how insanely easy it is. If you have a smartphone, you can start a show. So the cost of starting a show is actually zero. Now, if you want to take that show to the next level, well, that's a different story altogether. See, the most important thing about any show is what are you going to talk about? If you want to talk about cookies, if you want to talk about arts and crafts, if you want to talk about Marvel, DC, if you want to talk about politics or sports or fashion, it doesn't matter. It has to be something that you are passionate about. The easiest way to lose an audience, the easiest way to have a show killed off is to sit there and just say, hi, guys, I think that this is really cool. And I like doing this. Or even worse, to just be flat out wrong and say something like, I think Captain Kirk was the coolest character in all of Star Wars. I mean, that right there, that'll just pretty much turn off your audience for all time. So you have to be knowledgeable, but you've got to be passionate. You cannot sit back there and just be a fly on the wall and just be a dud. You have to really enjoy what you're talking about. But if you want to take your show to the next level, if you want to get out from being the beginner stage and really make a show shine, all right, now we're talking about putting in a little more work. It's a little more at that point than just going on and just talking about something. Integrating social media into your show is critical. You have to have Facebook for them to follow you. You have to have Twitter for them to follow you. Instagram is a great way to communicate to your followers and listeners because everybody wants to know what you're up to. Everybody wants to know what you're doing. We have a Facebook page that is approaching 7,000 likes. It grew, 38% in a year, in the first year that we were on the air. And Facebook is crucial. Integrating social media and telling everybody where they can find you. We say probably about a half dozen times during the show that our Facebook is facebook.com/GYGOofficial. Our Twitter is GYGO_official. And we tell people where they can find our social media so they can do what that guy's doing right there, pull out a smartphone and say, oh, hey, how cool, and start following us on social media. So that anytime we do a panel, anytime that we're out recording, anytime that we're out shining a light on what these cosplaying groups do for the community, now all of a sudden you know about it too. And you can follow that as well. Social media is critical to having an outstanding show. There is one other thing, and that is it helps to have sponsors. It really helps to have sponsors. Whether you're on talk radio or you are just doing a podcast in your living room, sponsors are key, because sponsors lead to better equipment. Sponsors lead to having some guests come on that want an appearance fee. Sponsors enable you to go out into the community. Sponsors really, really help. Now, can you have a really good talk show with zero sponsors? Yes, you can. You absolutely can. But man, having sponsors makes it so much better. Speaking of which, have y'all ever heard of Laser Legend? A little plug there for our sponsor, Laser Legend, on the north side of San Antonio. They're off of Lookout Road and I-35. They're one of our sponsors. Makes sense. It's a geeky talk show. It's a Laser Legend. It makes a lot of sense. Now, we've also talked to a number of non-geeky companies about sponsoring as well. But it does make sense to kind of have something within your own genre. If I started, if I had, let's say, Roto-Rooter as a sponsor, don't get me wrong, I would love to have them as a sponsor, but it just, for my audience's sake, can you imagine me sitting here talking about the new Han Solo movie brought to you by our friends at Roto-Rooter? It would be a little awkward, I would think. So our sponsors are Laser Legend. It's the mailing spot on Blanco and Huebner where we ship out our giveaways, and Southtown Games on the south side of San Antonio for 410 and Pleasanton Road. So those are our sponsors, and it really helps make the show a lot better. So no, you're good?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, Goose?
Of course, the other way that you can help out with that is to do those things that maybe people outside your immediate area can do. So for our San Antonio people, of course, please go to our sponsors. Please let them know that you enjoy the show and thank them for sponsoring it. But if you're in Dallas-Fort Worth, if you're in Austin, if you're in Australia, we have listeners in Australia and Canada and all across the world, it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense for them to come to San Antonio
to visit Laser Legend and stuff like that. So we have actually 2 additional means for any of our fans to help support us, and that's with the Amazon affiliate program. So you can you can do that yourself for your own website or podcast, and that way people go through your link or our link, in our case, and order stuff from Amazon, and Amazon gives us a little bit of that. Also Patreon. We actually have a Patreon page where you can actually directly give your support to the show, and that helps us because if we're getting it directly from the fans, that tells us that we're doing something right, and that gives us the ability to do more without having to be dependent on sponsors as well.
So there are various ways that you can help raise money to make your show better. Because taking it to the next level is crucial. If you really want the show to succeed, then there are steps you have to take it to the next level. One of my favorite all-time YouTubers is the Angry Video Game Nerd. That guy on YouTube is hilarious. If you haven't checked him out, find any one of his videos. And he used to be the Angry Nintendo Nerd, and then he kind of branched out into various other games. But he has very sophisticated equipment. Of course, he also gets about 1.5 million viewers, and he gets paid by by YouTube, based on his number of viewers. But he has sophisticated editing software. He has a couple of people that help him edit all that together. He writes out scripts. He knows exactly what he's going to do. He has, I think, 4 or 5 different cameras, because you have to record him, but you also have to be able to record the game that he's playing in really good quality. And how does he pay for that? Well, part of it is through himself, part of it is from YouTube, and part of it is from sponsors that he also has. But man, his videos are really good. They're really top-notch. I would love one day to have a video capability like he does. That'd be really sweet. So in order to do that, though, better equipment, though, is something. Eventually, you're going to have to step it up. One of these days, we plan on stepping it up as well. We just don't know when that's going to be. Right now, when we record Facebook Live, it's off of a smartphone. Right now, it's off of Goose's smartphone, but maybe we'll get mine working one of these days. Smartphones have really come a long way. You cannot underestimate the power of a smartphone. The cameras have gotten so good. Even when you're zooming way in, the cameras are so good. You know, they're now 12, 16, 20 megapixels. And of course, it fits into your pocket. It's really a tremendous part of technology that has really made our show come a long way. But eventually, if you want to step it up, you're going to have to look at a better quality webcam. Or you're going to start looking at shotgun mics, boom mics, lapel mics, omnidirectional mics, and so on and so forth. But that's really starting to get more and more advanced up to that level. I can't stress enough, though, you have to be passionate about what you're talking about. In order for people to listen to your show, they're listening to you. They are watching you. You have to be interesting. Goose talked earlier about how if your background is kind of weird, you know, if it's dirty laundry on your bed for a background, and people are criticizing you for that, then they're not watching you. And that's the idea. When people listen to our show on 9:30 a.m. KLUP Talk Radio, they aren't listening for the sound effects that Goose plays. Sorry to say. But that's an added bonus to the show. They're listening to us. They want to hear what we think about the latest Batman movie. They want to hear if we thought that Tom Holland makes a really good Spider-Man. How was that Power Rangers movie, and why were the Han Solo directors fired by Lucasfilm? They want to hear that. That's why they listen to the show week in and week out, is to get that news. So if you're not passionate and you're not knowledgeable, then I'm sorry, but you're not going to have a very good show. But anybody can start their own show. Anybody. And it can be about anything that you like. I mean, if you design and sell boots, you can have a boot talk show. Why not? It's just that easy. Minion, if you were to start your own show, what would it be about?
That would be action figure theater, which was, again, one of the things I'd kind of do on Facebook, play a shameless plug. But yeah, if I had the extra time and equipment, I would do more stop motion animation and add some special effects. Probably have to bring in people to do voices for some of the different characters, and just kind of go with it, run with it there. Goose volunteers as one of the voices already. I'm not sure who you'd want to do.
So there you go. So Minion will want to do action figure theater as a show.
Musical.
As a musical. As a musical. You can absolutely do it. Now, Goose, I have a feeling that your show would be the anti-Zack Snyder show. But if you could do a show about anything at all, what would it be?
It would honestly probably be more like a Star Trek review podcast for a while, and go through some of the series. Like Enterprise is not, I don't think, represented right now in podcast form, so we do that. And maybe go over the DC books of the week. Maybe do 2 shows, I don't know.
Why not? You could do 2 shows. You could do 3 shows. You could do 4 shows. You could have 1 show talking about Iron Man comics. You could have 1 show that talks about wheelchair basketball. You could have a 3rd show that talks about what's going on at the Wonderland of the Americas. Why not? You absolutely could. I don't see why not.
Currently, Sci Fest is going on at Wonderland of the Americas.
I heard Sci Fest is pretty cool. We may wander down and check that out one of these days.
Maybe.
All right, so what do you really need to survive? So we talked about the beginning, the basics. We talked about what it takes to go to the next level. But if you want to have a show that lasts years, if you want to eventually end up on talk radio or television, what do you really need in order to survive? The first thing you have is you have to be persistent and consistent. It took us over a year before we got to do a panel. We didn't do a panel last year. But
wasn't your bad.
it's persistence and being consistent. If your show is on Monday, and then you miss a Monday, and then you're on Wednesday, then you're back to Tuesday, back to Monday, and then it's a Tuesday, then you're off for a month, then it's a Friday. I mean, people don't know when to expect you. People still like that old TV guide format. They like to know, hey, it's Monday night, it's 8 o'clock, I know that Dave is doing a show. It's Wednesday, there's not much to do, I know that Minion is doing a show. They like that consistency. Even if you don't have a lot to talk about, even if you don't have a lot of content, it doesn't matter. Just be on. That makes a big difference. Then be persistent. I can't tell you, my sent folder on my inbox is just full of emails that I've sent out to celebrities, that I've sent out to various sponsors, that I've sent out to agents, that I sent out to Lori, who runs this show, for various reasons. You have to be persistent. 99 times out of 100, I don't even get a no when I'm asking a question. I don't get an answer at all. But I keep emailing, because what's the worst that can happen? The worst that can happen is they say no and you move on anyway. But be persistent. Our guest this next week will be Marina Sirtis. She played Counselor Deanna Troi on Star Trek. She is one of the characters that has been seen on Star Trek more than any other in the franchise's history, and I got that through persistence. Email after email after, hey, it's only a 15-minute interview. Hey, all questions and topics are submitted in advance. Persistence pays off.
Jeremy Bullock, who played Boba Fett in Star Wars, through persistence. I got turned down by a number of celebrities, but I was still persistent anyway. So be persistent, be consistent. If you really want your show to survive, you gotta have an angle. You gotta have a niche. You gotta have something that nobody else
has, or at least some people rarely have, because that's important. In this business, there are literally hundreds of podcasts, there are literally hundreds of YouTube channels, there are literally thousands of people on Twitch who talk about what we talk about, who do what we do, but you gotta be different. You gotta have a niche, you gotta have an angle. Why am I going to watch you or listen to you as opposed to the 99,000 other people out there? That's the hardest part, to be honest. That is the most difficult part. If you are a vendor out here, then it's the same thing. Why am I gonna buy from you as opposed to somebody else? There are a lot of comic vendors, a lot of toy vendors, a lot of action figure vendors. Why am I going to buy from you instead of the person next to you? You've got to have a niche. You've got to have an angle. Something has to make me want to buy into you because you are buying into us. I'm not sure what our angle is just yet. I think maybe around year 5 we'll figure that out. But that is key.
I know our angle.
We have an angle?
Yeah. Our angle is to bring the best in geek-related news and information to the masses. That is our angle.
That's our angle right there. So, and actually, believe it or not, the angle can be that you're 7 years old. I've seen some very young YouTubers who are really good. And one of the reasons I watch them is because they're 7 years old. It's so rare to see a 7-year-old or an 8-year-old or a 10-year-old or a 61-year-old talking about geeky stuff and doing it well. That could be your angle, that could be your niche. But you gotta be able to find that and go with it. Why am I going to you instead of somebody else? Another point is you need to engage the audience.
because either they're usually really, really good or they're really, really bad, and
The host will just rip them to shreds. And that's entertaining, to be honest. I don't know why, but it is.
Especially that one call.
yeah, we had one caller. This was it last October? I think around last October. We had Councilman Robert Trevino on the show because
He's a huge geek. Got reelected too. And he announced on our show that he was going to run again. That was his
his big break. He announced on our show I am running for city council again, which was awesome. So we took callers in the second half of the show after he had to step out and go back to the business of fixing potholes and running the city. And one of the callers called in and said, yeah, I'm not going to vote for the councilman because of all the murders that are going on in my street. Yeah, we're a geek talk show, dude. Did you have any questions about, Star Wars or Han Solo? Or no, just want to talk about murder in the street. Oh, and how his dog got stolen and how he blames the councilman for that. And I'm like, great, thanks a lot. Off you go away. But you need to engage with your audience. It's crucial. We have a running Facebook chat on facebook.com/GYGOofficial. On Get Your Geek on Facebook page, we run an interactive chat, and we will talk to people from Canada, New York, Australia, England, Mexico, all over, and they'll talk to us, and we'll talk to them right back. It makes them feel valued. You make your audience feel valued when you do that. I have to say, we've had some interesting chats, but the most interesting things over the last year, it's been interesting. You got to have fun with what you're doing. If you're not having any fun, then you're not doing it right, or this is just not for you. But it's like your job. I put probably about 30 to 40 hours a week into the show. It doesn't show all the time. But trust me, I do. I put a lot of time into it, and I do it because it's fun. Having a show is fun. It's so much fun to get on the air every week and talk to everybody about Batman, about Superman, about Green Lantern, about Aquaman, about Spider-Man, Iron Man, Star Wars, and Star Trek. It's a lot of fun. If you're not having fun with it, then you need to either re-examine what you're doing or you just need to get out altogether. And the last thing you got to have is you got to have a crew. You got to have an excellent crew with you. It is so hard to do a show by yourself. The more people you trust to do a good job on your show that you have, the better your show will be. Now, I can't be everywhere at once. I can't cover everything at once, which is why I trust Peter and I trust Goose to go out and do this and to go out and help with this, to come up with ideas, feedback, content. I mean, there's only so much that my mind can process, and Minion may say, well, hey, what about this? And it may never have thought of it. It may never have occurred to me before. Goose can say, well, how about we talk about this? In fact, it was while I was on vacation last week that Goose said, hey, have you reached out to anybody about all these anniversaries coming up? This year is the 20th anniversary of Buffy, the 30th anniversary of Star Trek The Next Generation, the 15th anniversary of Firefly. Have you reached out to anybody about this? And I was like, oh my God, I have no idea. It just never even occurred to me to check for anniversaries. So that's why it helps to have a good crew that you can trust to help you out with this.
Speaking of having a good crew, compared to when you were used to doing this in your living room with a podcast, how does it compare to having both me and Goose with you?
Well, when I was doing the podcast by myself, I wasn't throwing things. I wasn't trying to hit somebody. No, this makes all the difference because when I was doing just a podcast, I was not able to cover Heroes with a Heart when they were working with the Star Wars Society of San Antonio to raise money for the food bank. I wasn't able to do that. There wasn't the time. I was coming in with all the show notes all by myself. Some of them were not very good because they sounded good in my head, but not when it was done out loud. Having a crew that you can trust makes the difference. Now, and I can't stress enough the trust factor. You have to be able to trust the people you're working with to do a good job. If you don't think they're going to do a good job, but y'all are besties, then it's not going to work out. And the vendors know this as well. You can't. Essentially, we've gone into business together, and you have to go into business with people that you trust. That is crucial. You can walk around to any of these vendors out here, and they will tell you the exact same thing. If you don't trust who you're working with, don't work with them. It's not going to work. And each one of us has specific assignments. Goose is on sound effects, clips, demos. and so on. So I trust Goose to pull up that part of his job. Minion is our man on the street. He's telling us what is going on, that Sci Fest is going on, that's spreading the word to Heroes of the Herd and Champions of San Antonio about the show, getting us involved with that. And I trust him to do that job. And then I'm the host. They trust me to do my job, which is to bring an excellent show every week. Now, do we talk about everything that they want to talk about? No. First of all, it's a 52-minute show in 20 seconds. There's only so much we can talk about anyway. Do we get to talk about what Goose wants to talk about every week? No. Do we get to talk about what Minion wants to talk about every week? No. No. But at the end of the day, it's my job to talk about what we're going to talk about, to decide what that is, to get the guests and the sponsors. And they trust me to do that, because if I don't get guests and sponsors, we're done. If I slip up and we don't do show notes, we're done. We don't have a show. So they trust me, and I trust them to do their job. All right, so let's kind of wrap up. So in the beginning, we talked about how easy it is for anybody out here to start your own show today. You already have a smartphone. That's all you really need. You can go ahead and get a little tripod. That's fine. Tripods are like $10. You can go out and you can get a webcam for $20. That's fine. But anybody can start their own show today. You can do it on YouTube, Twitch, Facebook Live. You can have a podcast, and it can be about anything you want to talk about. If you're an excellent cosplayer, you can talk about cosplay. If you want to talk about your business, you can talk about your business. Why not? It's your show. It's whatever you want to talk about. The equipment is easy. Talking about it is easy. All you have to do is just get out there and do it. Then we talked about taking it to the next level. Better equipment. Better mics. Because there's a difference between having a little mic on your lapel, or even worse, the mic on your computer, which is built by the lowest bidder, and having a mic like this, an omnidirectional microphone. Having a wireless, cordless microphone. Big difference. You also need to learn to look beyond the surface of your topics. You can't just talk about how you think the X-Wing Starfighter is really cool. Why is it really cool? You got to be able to talk in depth. And we also talked about what you really need to survive. Because there are so many podcasters, so many YouTubers who only want to talk radio, so we call dibs. But in order to survive, persistence, be consistent, have fun, and be engaging. Engage your audience. That's key also. And have a crew around you that you can trust. Yes, you can do a show by yourself, but I'm telling you right now from experience, it's a lot of hard work. And you don't get as much fun out of it. Share the love, share the wealth, bring in people that you trust. That is very key. Goose, do you have any final thoughts here? Goose is shaking his head. He doesn't have any final thoughts. Minion, no final thoughts. Don't forget the fan groups. Star Wars Society of San Antonio, Havoc, Brown Coats of San Antonio, and so on, are all down at that end of the mall. They all do a lot of hard work for very little actual tangible reward. Star Trek clubs are down that way as well. You want to go say hi to them and just talk to them about what it is that they do. I think you'll be pretty surprised about what it is that they do and how much they really do for everybody here. If we have a couple of minutes left, if anybody does have any questions for us, we'd be happy to answer any questions. If not, then we can go ahead and just kind of wrap things up.